everybody, I'm Ebonee. This is Ebonee's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Happy New Year! Merry Christmas! I don't think we made it that far in Vlogmas. I said that if you guys were not interested in it, I would just not do it, and I wasn't really getting that good of a response, so I decided just to take a much needed break. But now I am back, so thank you so much for joining me again this year. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos and have not already. If you think you are subscribed, just double check so we can make sure, please. Thank you very much. So, according to my highest ranking video, you guys are really interested in cabinet painting. And I know, like, when the new year comes, people get all these resolutions and they want to tackle house projects and they want to kind of check things off of their list. So I thought a great introductory video for this new year would be a more in-depth video about cabinet painting, particularly melamine. Melamine. Maybe it's melamine. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about. It's the kind like that look like this that I did before that have, most of the time they have the brown strip. They're like 80s. I think they're from like the 80s. A lot of kind of older homes have them. So I am going to be doing an in-depth video based off the questions that you had on my previous video about this same topic. So hopefully going into more detail and showing you exact products that I'm using and everything like that will be more beneficial than the last one. The last video did very well. I think that's the highest performing video on my channel. So I'm going to try to listen to you guys, what you want, what you actually will watch. And so that's how I'm going to start out the new year with this video. Let me know if you have any video suggestions for me in the comment section down below. And let's hop right on into this in-depth video about cabinet painting. Alright, so for the purposes of this video, I went by Habitat for Humanity and I bought this cabinet door. So in my video, I'll only be doing one door. So I have this cabinet door. It's made from melamine. That sounds right, melamine. If I'm saying it wrong, don't correct me. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm trying to help y'all out. But anyway, it's kind of a textured material. If you look closely, it has kind of a texture to it. So it's very important to clean this. And this, I don't think it was ever installed in anybody's house. So it doesn't even look like the screw holes have been used. I don't know, but it's very clean. In our homes, I don't know about you, but I typically do not clean my cabinets like well. I'll get it every once in a while, like when I do my deep cleaning. But on a day-to-day basis, they're exposed to all the moisture and the oils from cooking and everything that goes on in a kitchen. Hands and dirt and all kind of good jazz. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you get it extremely clean. If you do not clean it well, you will not get an end product that works well. You will be basically attaching paint to the dirt instead of attaching the paint to the surface of the door. And attaching it to the surface of the door is what you want to go for so you can have maximum adhesion. So we're going to start out by cleaning this. I'm going to prepare some water as hot as I can stand it and some TSP. I'm using the TSP substitute, but you can use any degreaser. Just make sure that you really get it clean. Like clean, as clean as you can. So that's the first step. Clean well. Again, I'm going to be using Dawn and a TSP substitute, but you can use a regular TSP cleaner. That's probably better. I don't really like to use gloves and such, so I'm using the substitute. One, that's what I have on hand, and two, I want it to be a little less harsh on my hands because I really don't like to use gloves, but we're going to clean this as well as we can. So again, cleaning is the main step. In your house, the cabinets will probably be much dirtier than you think. Even if you can't see dirt, you want to still clean it as if it was the dirtiest thing in your house, because when is the last time you really like deep cleaned it, like took it down and cleaned it well, you know? So you want to make sure that you don't have to do this process again because it is very time consuming to paint cabinets. So you just want to make sure that you're doing the steps as thoroughly as you can the first time around. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this as well as I can. Alright, so I got my cleaning solution in here. And you can probably use like a little scrubby brush first, but I'm just going to scrub with my elbow grease and my little microfiber cloth because that's what I have here. I should have used a lighter cloth so I can show you. Like this door appears to be very clean, but even it has a lot of dirt, probably whatever my hands have put on it and whatever it encountered while it was in Habitat for Humanity. So I'm spending a lot of time cleaning. The most important step, really. And I want to make sure that I get into all these little crevices well. If you have a little scrubby brush, try that, but I don't have one right now. If you don't, you can do what I'm doing. Just use extra elbow grease. But you want to get into all the little ridges, and you don't want to just gloss over it like this. No, you want to clean it, clean it. So at this point, hopefully I've been able to drive home how important it is to really get these cabinets as clean as possible. This would be a great time to get a helper because this part takes a while, but you want to make sure that you are doing a thorough job. I'm going to speed the rest of this cleaning clip up so that this video does not take forever for you to get through, but take my advice and really clean well. A project like this is not going to be feasible to try to do it without a sander. It's not impossible, but it's just not feasible really. So I have a cheap sander. This is the sander that I use. I got it from Harbor Freight for like $30, and you can always find sales there. I have done every project I've ever done with this sander, and it just died on me like at the end of last year. So you can actually see the video where it died. Maybe it was my last project. It was a desk makeover, so I'll definitely link that below so you can check that video out. But since I started my channel, I pretty much had the same sander, so these are inexpensive, but they do last a long time. I'm going to be using 220 grit sandpaper. My door didn't have any dings or dents or anything that I had to be concerned about, so my goal right now is to kind of flatten out some of that texture that the melamine has naturally, and just make sure that I rough up the surface so that my primer and paint will stick as well as possible. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I have 220 grit sandpaper, so I'm going to slap that on my sander, and I'm going to work both sides of my door because I think it looks best when you paint both sides. Some of you might just do the front side, but I'm going to go ahead and do both sides. So, and I'll show you how to quickly do both sides in this video, but you'll want to definitely sand both sides if you're going to follow my process. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not trying to necessarily knock down all the texture, but most of it, and make sure I hit every area with my sander. This cabinet door has a little bit of a groove, so I will have to do some hand sanding, but most of it I should be able to get with this sander. So let's get started sanding. As we discussed already, cleaning is the most important step, but a strong second is sanding, and that is because these cabinets are sold to us as finished products ready to install. So by the time we get them, they are already top coated so that they're durable enough for us to put in our kitchens and use. So they're not really sold with the intent of being refinished or painted. So we have to make sure that we knock down all of the top coat that the manufacturer of the cabinet door put on it. One question that often comes up, at least for me, and I think I did see it in the comments of that video, if not that one, I have seen it before. How do you know when you have sanded enough? So I stopped sanding to try to show you. Hopefully you can see the difference between the sanded side and the unsanded side. It's a little bit overcast out here, but I'm trying my best to show you. All right. On this door, hopefully if I move this around, you can tell. This side here is not sanded. Over here, it's sanded. If this is showing up correctly, this side should still appear shiny. this side should appear matte. So I'm not sure what the light is doing. Hopefully you can catch it. I've got a bad glare on the screen, so I can't even really tell what you can see. But hopefully if I move this around enough, you can see what I mean. This side is still shiny. It has that protective coat that the manufacturer put on this so that it will be wipeable. I'm just removing that top coat. So hopefully in person, if you can't see it here, hopefully in person you would be able to see it. But you can definitely tell in person what's been sanded versus what has not been sanded. It's just, I want to take it from shiny to matte. So that's what we're doing. So hopefully that made sense and helped you understand exactly what we're going for when we're sanding. So I'm just going to finish up this unsanded side and do all the edges and flip it over and do the back side. And then I will be done with my sanding. You'll be able to see that I stayed in one spot a little too long in the upper right hand corner of this door, and so it turned a little bit darker than what I had hoped, but that's totally fine as long as you don't stay in the spot long enough to actually get into the particle board that's underneath. You're fine. If you do get into the particle board, you will have to do a repair and sand, so just try to avoid that. Now I'm just going to take my sandpaper off here and I'm going to fold it in half and get in this groove. So since I'm sure you won't be doing only one cabinet and you'll have all the cabinets from your kitchen, you probably want to make sure that you have multiple pieces of sandpaper if you have a groove like mine, just so you don't have to keep switching back and forth. You can have one to do the flat areas with that stays on the orbital sander, and then another one that you're hand sanding with. The next step is going to be to wipe back all that sand and dust that you've created so that we can start to paint on a clean surface. So that's what I'm going to do now. I forgot to say this during the cleaning phase. If you have those little rubber bumpers that keep the drawers from like slamming around the hinges, just remove those. They're really cheap to replace, and I find that painting over them just looks kind of tacky. So, I mean, they're really cheap to replace, like a few bucks. So I would just remove those during the initial cleaning phase. And that way you could also sand in that spot without those being an interference. So I just remove those. It's cheaper to replace them than to have them hinder this already long process. So now that we've finished sanding and we've knocked back a little of that texture and all of that top coat, now we're going to do another round of cleaning. So I've still got my same two products, but you don't necessarily need a degreaser for this round. If you're running low or if you'd rather use something else, you can use that at this time. Really all you need is the Dawn for this round, but just clean the sand and dust back. Then the next step we'll work on after we finish cleaning. So this round of cleaning should go by much faster than the first round did, and that's because we're not really doing any deep cleaning. We're simply just removing all that sanding dust. But you do want to make sure that you do a thorough job and get all the dust off because, again, you don't want to be painting and having your paint attached to dust. You want your paint to attach to the actual surface of the cabinet. Next thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do is label your doors. You should really do this as you're taking them down. I kind of forgot to mention that because, of course, mine was already down. But when you take them down, even before the cleaning, I would say, after you remove your handles and your hinges, do this first, before the first initial cleaning. I forgot to mention this. Trying to remember it step by step, but normally I don't start with my doors down. Number your doors. They might all look the same, but sometimes they have a particular spot where they need to be. Make sure you number your doors. This is how I number my doors. I take a Sharpie. After I remove the hinge, I put the number in the hinge hole. So right in here, I'll write if it's like top one. So the top one on the first one on the top, or the first one on the bottom, whatever it is, I will write like 1B for the one on the bottom and 1T for the one on the top. So let's just say this one came from the top. I'm going to write 1T inside my little hinge hole in here, and then I'm going to cover it. This tape is probably too big, but I'm going to cover it with painter's tape. This way my number is protected. And so I can go through the rest of the process and still have my number be protected. You want to make sure you don't get them mixed up. So like I said, before you even start the initial cleaning, as you're taking them down and removing the hinges, do this part. Sorry if I'm out of order, but I'm doing the best I can to help you out. So yeah, don't forget this step, very crucial. Number the door, trust me. They might look the same, but sometimes they're not, and they like to be in a certain spot. So that's how I number mine, and I leave it like this throughout the whole process, and I've never had a problem with the tape coming off or anything like that. So painter's tape and a Sharpie. You can use a pen, pencil, it doesn't really matter. I like to use a Sharpie just to make it easier, but definitely don't forget to label them. However, whatever system you want to use is fine, but just save yourself some heartache and headaches and make sure that you label it. If you're a little skeptical, you can even do it in both holes. So you can do 1T down here just in case something happens to the first one. And you can add more tape. I used to do them in both holes. You just want to make sure that the tape is contained within the hole. But definitely label them. So now, if my first one fails, I've got my second one for backup. Very important step, so make sure that you do that. All right, so now my door is cleaned, labeled, sanded, cleaned again. Now, I have some 7/8 inch cup hooks from Walmart. And I have a small, really small drill bit just to pre-drill a hole for these to go into. This is what I'm going to do. In this one, I said, this also is made easier by labeling them. So in my example, this drawer is 1T, so this is the top. On my doors that go on the top, I want to make my holes on the top for my cup hooks. On the doors that go on the bottom, I want to put them on the bottom of the door. So in this example, this is a top door. So it should hang probably like that and open up this way. So this edge here would be the top of my door. Most of us cannot see the tops of our cabinets or the bottoms. So that's why we want to put the holes there. This way we don't have to worry about patching and filling holes. We'll just have holes where they'll be out of sight. Absolutely nobody is going to crawl and look under the bottom or crawl up and look over the top. So that's what we want. So this is a top cabinet. So on my top edge here, I'm going to go ahead and make 2 holes. I want them to be wide, but not too wide, and here's why. I'm going to be hanging them on this hanger to paint. So I have my hanger here, and I see about how wide I can make it. It doesn't have to be exact. I just want to make sure that both cup hooks can hang off this hanger. So I'm just going to eyeball this, make a little mental note where I should drill my holes. I could even use my fingernail just to make a little mark here and here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill. And here's another hole. And now I'm going to take my cup hooks. And I'm going to screw my cup hooks in that hole I just made. and it's nice and strong so that my hanger can hold it like so. Doing this method means that I can paint both sides at the same time. I happen to find some really cheap clothing hooks at Walmart for like $8. Since I am doing professional painting jobs for cabinets, I went ahead and bought 3. If you can make a clothesline, anything you can use that you can hang several different hangers across, maybe you already have a clothesline in your backyard, maybe you can rig up something that's cheaper than buying a ready-made clothing rack. Maybe you have a clothing rack, you can kind of cover it with plastic to protect it or tape, and then use that. Whatever you can use, this will make this process much faster. If you got 2 trees and you can tightly string a rope in between the 2 of them, that'll work. However, you can get some kind of parallel surface suspended that you can hook hangers onto that's strong enough for the weight of several cabinet doors. That will make this process go 10 times faster. If you don't want to make an investment in anything to hang, if you don't want to buy hangers and cup hooks, which are relatively cheap, I think the cup hooks were like $1 for 40. And I have a couple packs, of course, but you might not need as many as me. So it just depends on really how much money versus how much time you want to invest. I want to do this in the least amount of time possible. Plus, I have my stuff already, so I'm kind of able to reuse it. But if you don't want to do that, you can paint the doors one side at a time. So paint it, wait, or prime it, wait, prime it again. If you want to do 2 coats of primer, wait, paint it, wait, paint it again, wait, top coat it, wait. That's just too much for me. So I'd rather prime them all, paint them all, and top coat them all, front and back, and cut the time in half. Like I said, it's already a very time-consuming process, so if you're okay with investing more money, do so. If not, you can roll it. In this video, I'll be spraying, but you can roll it and just do each side. You know, go down your line, doing your primer, go down your line, doing your paint, and so forth. But this is my method, how I'm doing it now to cut time and make this process go by timely. So I use this method. I really love this method with the cup hooks and the hangers. But like I said, if you don't want to invest any additional money or try to figure out how to suspend your rope and hang everything from it, that's understandable. You would just have to take more time laying them out and waiting for each thing to dry before you can flip it and do the other side. I'm going to opt to do both at the same time for this video. I will be using my sprayer. I am using the Ben shellac-based primer because I feel it's the best for this job. However, if you don't want to use a sprayer, you can roll this, like I said, but it's just more time consuming. If you do want to use a sprayer, you don't have to invest in the Wagner like I have. It's a little bit costly. There is a sprayer on Amazon that I started with. It was my first sprayer. I think it was called the Super Max Finish. Put that in Amazon. I'm sure you'll find it. It has a blue top. That's a really good sprayer for a pretty reasonable cost. And if you're going to do this, like, you might as well just invest in it. So, you know, you could always sell the sprayer on Facebook Marketplace when you get done with it to try to recoup some of your money. But that sprayer is not a bad sprayer to have around. Back in the day when I got it, it was only like $40. I think it's gotten a lot more popular and everything has gotten more expensive, of course. So maybe it's not around $40 anymore. But I would say if it's still under $100, it's well worth it to finish this project in a timely fashion. Plus, you don't have to worry about any brush strokes. Like, the sprayer will just really come in clutch for a project like this. So, and like I said, if you feel a way about investing the money, don't forget, you can always sell it once you finish using it. So that's how I got my first round of supplies. I bought everything used on Facebook, except the sander because it was only $30. So just bought that new. But You can resell it to try to recoup some of your money, but it's definitely worth it for a project of this magnitude. And just to get the right finish the first time, to be able to do 2 doors at the same time, and to be able to finish this faster is what's worth the money to me. So you just decide where you want to cut corners and where you don't. But I'm gonna go ahead and prime this because it's freezing cold outside, and I don't want it to get colder and affect my drying. So let me go ahead and get this outside. And like I said, I'm going to be spraying the Ben Shellac based primer, and I'll probably do 2 coats. So let's hop into that. The wind from your sprayer will make your door move around. So another pro from using these hangers is that you're able to kind of use them as a little handle to keep the door steady while you're trying to spray it. This particular sprayer only has 2 settings that you can adjust. So on the numbered dial, I'm on a 5, and on the other gray dial that adjusts the material flow, I am just on a medium setting. I have 3 of these clothing racks, and that's how I'm able to complete a whole kitchen's worth of cabinets at the same time. But I'm sure that you probably won't have 3, but maybe you can set up one area where you're painting and then another area where you put them to dry. It's okay if they're kind of close while they're drying, but you don't want them to be that close while they're painting, just so the wind from your sprayer won't make them bump into each other. So if you only have one area, it's still much faster to do this with a sprayer, but you might want to try to designate one area for painting and one area for drying if you can. Okay, when you are painting cabinets, the type of paint that you pick is extremely important. You want something that's going to be durable and that's going to work well with a top coat, with a nice solid top coat. They do sell all-in-one type paints. I don't believe in those. I believe you get out of things what you put in it. If you want to do a rush job and try to get it done quickly, then it might not last as long as somebody who's done all the steps that I'm showing you today. So that's why I just choose to do things the way I know that works. So this is the paint that I'll be using. I had this in my collection, and I don't foresee painting any other furniture with it, so I'm just using it for this purpose, just to get rid of it basically. But the brand is Fusion, and this is the brand that I always use. It works well with the polyacrylic top coat, and so that's why I choose to use it. It also has a built-in top coat of its own, which makes it extremely durable when paired with the additional top coat. And I just found that this paint really adheres well, particularly to these plasticky kind of materials, and so I always stick with this. Um, Wise Owl is also a good paint, but I think it's slightly more expensive than this, and it does have a 1 hour dry time, which does make that kind of a better option. But this one is more readily available for me, um, so this is the one that I've always used, and this is the one that works well for me. So it is Fusion Mineral Paint. You can look on their website and find where it's in stock near you, or you can order it offline. But I just really think it's a nice paint, and so this is the one that I've always used for my cabinet jobs. My sprayer is going to be on like a level 5, and I'm going to have like medium airflow. One thing I want to mention about switching from primer to paint is that you never want to use water when you are cleaning out a shellac-based primer from a sprayer. You want to use ammonia. Use ammonia. Do not use water when you are cleaning out that Ben shellac-based primer, or you will create a mess. And here I'm just pulling this off to give you a close-up and show you that I didn't like the way it was spraying. It kind of looked a little dotted, and I didn't like how it was looking, so I went ahead and turned my dial up to a number 6 on my sprayer. And I increased the material flow by a lot so that more paint could come out. If you are a beginner with a sprayer, I would suggest using cardboard or some other kind of material where you can do test sprays. But since I'm kind of more advanced with my sprayer and I know what to adjust when it's not coming out how I want it to, I didn't do that. But for you beginners, I would definitely do a test spray. And please do not forget to paint the bottom edge. Remember that that is the edge that will be visible. So that's why we did not put the cup hooks on that side. So you want to make sure that you don't forget to spray the bottom edge, because I have definitely done that before and then got ready to install and I had to stop to fix my painting. So make sure you don't forget to spray your bottom edge. When I'm using my sprayer, I always try to overlap the previous spray by at least 30%. so that I don't miss any areas, but sometimes I still miss areas, and that's okay because I will do 3 coats of paint and I will catch any errors that I missed on the first coat, on the second or third coat. Here's how this door looked after the first coat, and you can kind of see some lighter areas that I missed, but I'm not sweating it because I know I'm going to do a few more layers of paint and I'm going to get it eventually. Also, Fusion is not a 1 coat paint, so you always have to do at least 2 when you work with Fusion paint, so you don't have to get it perfect on the first go around, just make sure you get it as good as possible. And now I'm doing the second coat on this door, and I will do the third off camera, but I'm just showing you the second so that you can see that I'm following the same process. I like to paint the outside edges first and then come back and do the middle and then quickly go around the edges again. And I allowed 2.5 hours between coats as my dry time. Now I just want to pop in really quick and say that if you have learned anything new from this video or if you are enjoying it, please make sure you leave a comment or at least thumbs up the video. A top quality top coat is a #1 priority. This is going to be the final finish. This is going to be the part that your client or yourself, if you're doing this for yourself, is most interacting with. So you want to make sure that you use a nice quality top coat. I use the polyacrylic in satin. If you make a surface too matte, sometimes when you go to wipe it, your cloth can kind of get stuck, and I just don't like that feeling. Satin is smooth enough that when you wipe it, it's very wipeable and your cloth won't get snagged, but it's not too shiny to where it looks glossy and kind of tacky. So this is just like a nice finish that when the light hits it, it gives a little sheen, but nothing that will make it look extra, extra glossy. So I've just poured this straight in my sprayer as is, not watered down at all or anything like that. And I'm just gonna be spraying 3 coats of this onto my dresser, or not my dresser, my cabinet door. My sprayer is on the same settings that it was on when I was spraying paint, and I'm just gonna go with that. Nothing too much special to really say about applying this top coat, except that I'm doing it in the same exact pattern that I applied my paint as well. As I said before, I am doing 3 coats of this polyacrylic, and I see other furniture flippers or other people who refinish things sanding in between coats of polyacrylic, but I never do that and I never have a problem with bad texture. So you can sand if you would like in between your coats, but I just don't find it to be necessary. I allowed 2 hours of dry time in between coats, so of course it got pitch black dark while I was doing my second coat, but I did do the third off camera. So here is my completed cabinet door. As you can see, it looks really great. And so here is the front, and here is the back. A lot of you had questions about durability, so I decided that we'll do a few tests on this particular cabinet. So let's do a couple tests. I've got my fingernails, a coin, and my keys. So let's see. I'm scratching with my fingernail. Nothing is happening. This is probably the most that you will get, like, you know, if you're trying to open the handle and your fingernail scrapes it. But as you can see, nothing is really happening to the paint. The top coat is moving a little bit, but it's still wipeable and it still looks good. I'm scraping with this penny. Again, there are scratches because I'm scraping, but the paint is not off at all. And I'm scratching pretty hard and still no damage to the paint. And The key seems to be moving the top coat off, and you can still see scratches, but again, no real damage to the actual paint. So this gets a 10 out of 10 for durability as long as you follow the steps that I suggest that you follow. Some of you requested that I write out the materials, so here is a list that you can screenshot. That will conclude this video, so if you have the time, please select another one of my videos to watch from the choices on your screen or in the description box below. Thanks for watching.